All right. I don't always let the whole music play because you guys know it gets a little long, but you know, every time I cut it off early, somebody's always in the chat like, I wish we would finish the music. But anyways, I digress. I like the music. Thank you guys for showing up. Listen, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to LAQUAN here. He is joining us. We're going to draft a Best Ball Mania 5 winning team tonight. That's going to be it. And then you won't see us again. We're going to take these shirts and we're going to be down on the beach with our families. And that's it. We're done. That's it. This is the pinnacle. All right. What is going on, LAQUAN? How are you doing, bud?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm feeling good, man. It's Friday night. I got my loud shirt on, good spirit up. It's the good vibes. Like, I'm ready to go, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. LAQUAN is the reason that we are wearing these shirts. However, obviously I have it. I didn't go out and buy it. These are my golfing shirts. But when LAQUAN said we're going with loud shirts, he had no argument from me. So it is Friday night. We're going to jump in and draft the Best Ball Mania 5 winning team over on Underdog here. And I'm going to fire us up here. And then listen, LAQUAN, you know, jump in, say whatever you want. Tell me who to pick, whatever you want. Listen, I know you're in LA, so you probably want to pick some Rams players potentially. I'm going to pick your brain on what's going on with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum and stuff. So, like let's so tell me a little bit more about your fantasy football experience, best ball experience. You know, tell me whatever you want people to know.
Well, I've been playing fantasy football for some time now, man. It really goes back a couple years. Like, I can't even put a number on it, how long it's been, but a lot of people don't know that soccer is my first sport. Like, it's my love, it's my passion. And like one of my close buddies, you know, he knows I'm a Rams fan and I only watch Rams games. So he's like, yo, join my fantasy league. It's an opportunity for you to kind of learn more about the game and learn about more teams. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And I freaking win the league. And the rest is history.
Wow. A born natural, just like a thoroughbred.
Yeah, it just kind of became addiction after that, where you join 2 leagues and then those 2 leagues turn to 4. And then currently right now, I'm probably in about 16 leagues right now where I want to cut it to where I'm staying a halt, but I was worse years later, like years ago. Like, I was about up there in the 20s.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how you keep track of it. That's what I love about best ball, though. You could be in, 20 best ball leagues. You could be drafting 20 best ball leagues simultaneously, easy. Yeah. But 20 leagues where you're setting your lineups and stuff every week, that's a lot, man. All right, listen, we've got the 4th pick here. Who do you like, assuming that CD and CMC are off the board probably, and then it's anybody's game here?
So at the 104 spot, I've been taking either Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson. Those are the 2 running backs left that I feel is comfortable with taking in the first 2 rounds. But I feel as though here with the recent news of Bijan Robinson possibly being used like CMC, I'm going to go Bijan at that 104 spot if he's there and available.
All right, we're going Bijan then. That's the first pick. Let me know if you need me to zoom in or anything. I want to make sure you can see this a little bit. Hopefully it's not too small for you there. But all right, we got Bijan there. I mean, I like what you said because I did see that as well. He said, they mentioned it like 2 different times, like kind of like CMC over in San Fran. And like, that's never a bad thing, especially when you got a guy as talented as Bijan. So, I mean, listen, I like the play though. That's very contrarian. Do you realize how contrarian that is going running back right there?
Listen, I understand that, but there's only 3 running backs that I really care for in these early rounds that I feel as though I can punt on running back and get the value in the mid rounds. So there's only like the big 3 that can make a huge difference to your roster, especially in best ball. Like, I feel as though you're going to get your absolute best weeks more times than not with the CMC, with the Bijan, or with the Breece Hall. So those are my big 3 running backs this year where I feel as though you can't go wrong no matter what.
Okay. So you're trying to grab one of those 3 as often as you can, or are you going to cap yourself on them a little bit?
So obviously, if I'm at the 101 spot, which is kind of rare some of these days, like I'm taking CMC, no doubt. But I've been balanced between Bijan and Breece Hall because I feel like they're going to be very close when it comes to like season ending and the points per game. They both have the same upside when it comes to the touchdowns. They both have the same similar workload that we're hoping for Bijan, with this new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, coming from Sean McVay, coming from LA. So I think they know what they have out of this backfield. And I think the sky is the limit for both those guys. So across like multiple leagues, I'm kind of doing half and half at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely So I will admit and say that I've been following the trends quite a bit more often than not and going heavy wide receiver for a while. And then,
Yes.
I'll scoop up a running back like Rashad White. Uh,
Hmm.
I'll get Kenneth Walker a little bit. Like those kind of guys are usually like my first running backs that I've been taking kind of. But I think you're right. Like it's good to differentiate, especially if I'm hoping to get anywhere near close to maxing out the BBM5. Like I want to have exposure to a lot of these guys. So I have to make sure that I keep an eye on my exposure levels and just to make sure that I don't have, 30% Kenneth Walker and 0 Bijan. Because if he goes off, I want to at least have one team out there. You know what I mean? Hopefully get one team out there.
Exactly. This guy gets it.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming back up here soon. We're going to be picking 21st overall. Do you go? I mean, Saquon's probably going to be gone. And I don't know if I love him here. Do you like the idea of trying to grab one of these wide receivers?
Yes. So if I was going to grab a wide receiver where he'll be my wide receiver one after we just took a running back, I need a complete alpha. And I think that goes with Mike Evans here. It sounds crazy, but the Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, it's going to bother me just based on trying to figure out which week is going to be the high weeks, especially in redraft leagues where you have to set these lineups. This is going to translate all these ADPs that you see here probably towards summertime when these drafts are alive and well. So like I try to practice what I preach, and I try to practice in these best ball leagues to possibly transition into redraft leagues. So here I need an alpha that's going to get the targets, get the yards, and has high touchdown upside.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I am all in on honestly, and it's kind of scary to say. I'm really in on both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Like, I really think I like the news of Godwin moving into the slot this year or going back to the slot. I think that's going to be really good for him. And Baker showed that, listen, he's good for fantasy. I'm not saying, and he played well last year. I'm not saying he's maybe the best real life football quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, I think he can feed these guys both. And it's really nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's these two guys or nobody else. Like that's it. Like they get all the targets.
And exactly. And what makes Baker so good in this system as well is that you have somebody like Rashad White, if things go south, that you could dump it off to that has reliable hands and a guy that can really get upfield as well. And now they drafted a guy like Bucky Irvin. You can only imagine how more creative they're going to get out of the backfield with Baker Mayfield in this running back tandem. You have Godwin back in the slot, and he even publicly said that's where he makes most of his magic happen. So it's kind of like, come on now, like given what we need for things to be like to work, for Baker to even elevate his game for what he did last season. So I think this is going to be a good deal for Tampa Bay in that offense.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. As long as we don't see a big Baker Mayfield regression, that's the only thing that we're just because it's Baker, but like I agree with you. I'm with you. And I give me Chris Godwin in the slot. So listen, while you were talking there, we took DK, and I gotta be honest, I'm a big DK Metcalf fan this year. I think that his floor is so high. And I think that we maybe haven't even seen his ceiling yet. I really like what he brings here. I think Tyler Lockett is getting up there in age. So maybe Smith and Najigba kind of elevates a little bit more to being that number 2 guy, but DK is still the clear one. I like that we have that consistency with Geno there. Another situation where he's just going to get fed as many targets as he wants. The guy's a physical freak. We know that. So I didn't want to fall behind on the wide receivers. So I really was debating between Achane there and Metcalf. Would you have gone the same route, or would you maybe have gone with Kyron Williams or somebody else there?
I'm going wide receiver until the 5th round. So
okay.
that's where the line is of where like I'm going heavy wide receiver after taking somebody from that big 3. So what we're on, the course that we're on is a positive course. I was never going to take Achane. Never in my life was I going to take him there because it's just way too expensive, man. And I love the flash in the pan guys. I love the really explosive running backs, but you have your head coach saying this backfield is led by Mostert. Then you see last season, he can't even prove the most important thing that makes you such a fantasy asset, and that's to stay healthy and be available. Availability is your best ability. And if you're not there for me week to week, and you're just going to be this 3rd round, draft capital guy that's on most weeks not putting up points because you're hurt, I don't need the headache. I don't need the headache, man. That's not how you build a championship team.
No, that's fair. I'm surprised, man. Mostert really surprised me. I mean, what is he, 28, 29, right? Isn't he up there in age? I mean,
dude, he's 31. I'm sorry, 32. We're the same age. But hear me out. I feel as though I wasn't surprised about Mostert last year. Like, if you go to my Twitter, like I've been screaming Mostert since damn near March of last year because simply, you have a guy that's up here in age, but you have to remember the dude is explosive. He's just as fast as some of these guys on the field. He's not as fast as Achan, but he's still very fast in the 4.3 range where he's explosive. And you have a guy that's explosive in the red zone on a high power offense that's equipped with Tua, equipped with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That's going to create a lot of scoring opportunities. So I'm not going to say that I've seen 18 touchdowns. I saw at least 9 or 10, though. That was on the cards. But 18, he just blew all expectations.
You're not going to give us the LeBron James where he's like, oh, yeah, I called Kobe the night he scored 81. I said that Kobe's going to score 81 tonight. Yeah. You remember? You seen those? Oh, my gosh. Those videos crack me up. My brother sends me them all the time. People make the funniest memes of them. Like, I don't know. Like, they'll say anything. Like, you know, I saw this before it happened. All those things with LeBron. He cracked me up when he said that. He's like, I looked in his eyes. And I said he was going to score 81 tonight. It's like, come on, LeBron. You didn't
no, you didn't.
I know, right? But he says that funny stuff. Or like, have you ever seen the videos where he's sitting there holding a book and he's always on page 1? That's like the other big thing of him.
Yes. The biggest liar, the biggest capper in the business.
I know. We know LeBron likes his theatrics. Listen, I'm glad nobody's following me around all the time too, because I probably do some stupid stuff too that they'd catch me on.
Oh my
God. Look what he's doing. Parking. He's taking 8 times to get into this parking spot. Something like that. Just ridicule me all day. All right, so we got to get a receiver, but look, I got to be honest with you. Even if Pickens is here, what do you think? Like, I don't love this. Do we go down here to Terry McLaurin? I like Scary Terry, but we're up there in ADP.
It's actually an interesting situation we're in because I was expecting Amari Cooper to be available, but he's not. He literally just went. So I probably go Trey McBride, to be honest, because we already know that position that he has locked that up to where he could be a valuable target hog for Kyler Murray. Bringing in Marvin Harrison doesn't affect Trey McBride. It actually helps them both together. The middle of the field opens up because you could do a little bit of intermediate, short, and even long ball with Marvin Harrison Jr. There's not anything he can't do. Trey McBride already has shown that he is a great productive route runner. So here, I would just take another pass catcher that's going to see a decent volume of 18 to 25% target share. So I'll take that range on a guy like Trey McBride because here you're following volume and you're getting talent. So I'm a lock.
Okay. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I say this would be the first time. Well, first round, I think any of those guys in the first round, you can make an argument could be the guy that wins you the league. So I'll never argue with first round. Like I said, I think it was contrarian to get one of those top 3 running backs, top 4, but I'm not going to argue that at all because those guys could absolutely win you the $1 million this year. So, but this would be the first one that I was looking at. I think I'm a little higher on somebody like Kincaid or even Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, little scary because he's getting up there in age and stuff, but I really like Kincaid this year. And I just think that it's a real possibility that he ends up leading the Bills in targets this year. Just curious your thoughts on Kincaid. And then obviously we're going to be coming around here. So maybe we can grab another wide receiver probably down here, unless you don't want me to go quarterback here, right?
No, we can wait on quarterback.
Okay. Tell me about Kincaid though. What's your thoughts on him this year?
So I want to say you are absolutely right. He will lead the Bills in targets and catches.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Joe Brady's system does scare me a little bit where it's going to be spread out. He likes to not have a hero target. He likes to have guys to have opportunities and weapons. So I keep going back to 2020. People are probably tired of hearing me bring this up. But the Panthers is a great lens to look at of what Joe Brady's going to bring to this Bills offense because he showed it and displayed it once Ken Dorsey was out. So you're looking at Kincaid as the target hog. That can be true, which was true in a sense with DJ Moore with the Panthers. He likes to spread out the ball. Robbie Chosen had a career high. You had Curtis Samuel had a career high, who's also on the Bills, where he had so many fancy opportunities, which is carries and targets. Curtis Samuel is going to look like the one some weeks. So you're looking at this offense where you're going to have guys some weeks. It's going to be a Curtis Samuel week. It's going to be a Dalton Kincaid week. It's going to be, it's Khalil Shakir week, but when you are able to have 3 wide receivers finish in the top 25, all having career highs that year, DJ Moore, Robbie Chosen, and Curtis Samuel, that's still good business. You know what I mean? But I just think the expectations for Dalton Kincaid to be a top 3 tight end, I don't see it in the stars, to be honest.
Okay. No, I like that. I mean, I could definitely get behind that take. I will say, I think I got a lot of Kincaid exposure, so I hope you're slightly undervaluing him, but I agree with you there. Honestly, like that's my concern about Chicago. That's my concern to some extent about Houston. It's like, who's going to be the guy that week? Now, if you have the guy when you need him in week 15, 16, or 17, you could win the whole thing for sure. I mean, Nico Collins could absolutely win somebody the $1 million this year, but so could DJ Moore, honestly. If he has another 3-touchdown night like he had last season again on, I think it was Thursday Night Football, if that happens, like, absolutely. But any given week, it's like, I don't know how much I want to play that roulette. Now, I think you can maybe get away with it a little bit more in best ball than you can in like a redraft league or something like that, because if he hits that week, at least you know he's automatically in your lineup pretty much. But yeah, it's just, I find myself staying away from it a little bit more often, especially Chicago, because rookie quarterbacks, like CJ Stroud was like an anomaly. Everybody thinks that like these rookie quarterbacks are going to step in and do that. Like that doesn't happen very often.
Not everybody is CJ Stroud or Patrick Mahomes after that 1 year. Like I think people need to look at this year for Chicago is honestly, like, my take on it is a big question mark. We don't know which target he's going to lean to more or favor, because everybody's coming in with a clean slate. Like everybody's situation is a little different. DJ Moore has the best target competition he's ever had in his career on any team, and possibly the best quarterback he's ever been able to work with. And like, I feel as though Caleb Williams, he doesn't owe anybody anything. So I think he's going to go to where whoever's open or whatever scheme or whoever's going to be the target on this play, it's going to work out, So I feel as though, like, even with DJ Moore early in those early rounds, it kind of like, I could just wait 2 to 3 rounds to get a Keenan Allen, or even take the shot on Roman Dunze at a round later.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we kind of feel the same way, it sounds like, about Chicago.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the 6th round now. Our picks coming up in 5 picks. Let's say, okay, we're gonna have a couple of receivers that are going to be available here, and a couple of decent running backs here. What do you like? What do you like?
Mixon just went.
Mixon went. Yep, for Houston. Yep.
Damn it. I like Rashad White or Kenneth Walker. I've liked those two options here in the 6th round, but Mixon was my guy right there, man. I want a piece of this Houston offense, and if I can't get the wide receivers or I can't get CJ Stroud, I'm going to get Joe Mixon.
Listen, I was actually interested a little bit in Addison because we have a little bit of week 15 correlation there, or I'm sorry, week 16 against Seattle. I know everybody talks about week 17, and don't get me wrong, I'm heavily invested in week 17 game stacks, but you got to get there too. That's the thing, is like, people forget, like, I want to see it at the table at least. So I also am looking at 15 and 16, because I feel like if I get there, anything can happen, even if I don't have the game stack. Now, again, like I said, I'm still stacking week 17, but I like stacking all the weeks a little bit if I can get it. All right, what are we looking at here? Look at this. We got Kenneth Walker, Kamara, Ladd McConkey. What do you like here?
I like Kenneth Walker the most out of this bunch. Kamara might see a lot of targets, but
touchdown upside's not as much there.
Not as much there, yeah. Let me get Kenneth Walker there, man, because our running back duo looks very strong right now. Like, we can kind of punt for a while on running back. Still just grab this value on DeAndre Hopkins here. Look at JSN down there, like the upside that he has this season. There's still some really good wide receivers available. Like, I think the cutoff for me is the 7th round. DJ's there, man, with a 25% target share. Volume's going to be king, right? We're looking at, that's why I said we can literally get our wide receiver alphas, guys that have tons and tons of touchdown upside, and then I want complete volume following these guys where they can be consistent every single week of getting volume.
Yep. No, I'm with you there. I mean, I don't love the quarterback situation Carolina has, obviously. However, if Bryce Young could take a couple of steps, there goes as Johnson goes there, but if he could take a couple of steps, look at this. It's like a quarterback or a wide receiver wasteland out here.
I'm down to get Kyler for that stack with Trey McBride, because I think big things of Kyler Murray coming up this season.
Okay. Yep.
Top 5 quarterback right here.
Woo, I like it. Listen,
yes, sir.
I can't argue with you. He's got weapons. Kyler, we know he can run.
Woo, this dude was unstoppable once he came back from injury. Like, it was like amazing to see how fluid it was for him to just come in and just start putting points up.
All right, so we got our quarterback. So if you take a quarterback, what round are we in? 7th round here. Are you kind of punting for a while at quarterback and you want to grab somebody maybe later like a Geno Smith?
I'm punting because my exact stack with that actually is probably Jaden Daniels down there. I mean, you still have, looking for guys that have upside like Will Levis, that's going deep later, and Bryce Young's and all that stuff. So you still have some options as a solid QB2. So I'm not against, punting for a while.
Okay. I got to be honest. I think my highest owned quarterback right now. No, I think my highest owned quarterback's Anthony Richardson. So I'm a Colts fan. So and I was all
another
over
top 5
Richardson.
right there.
Dude, I was all over him last year. I think I was getting him, if I'm remembering, around round 11. I was like 35% owned. If he had stayed healthy, I would be sitting here the BBM4 winner, I think. I had so much Richardson last year. I was all over it. It was easy because he was exciting. I was a Colts fan. I'm a Colts fan. Like, it was easy for me just to pick him every time in that. And I was like, I don't need to really stack him. I don't really care if I do or don't because he can run. I was set up. I was set up to win. And then he falls on his shoulder wrong, the massive human being that he is, and just pummels his shoulder somehow. And I was just so sad. Like, you're a fan. I'm just, as a fan, I was sad. And then I remembered, I'm like, oh, well, this hurt me there too.
I became a huge fan of his against the Rams, like my Rams, the way he played. Like, it was amazing to just watch the fight in him and watch him play. And like, you're running from Byron Young and Aaron Donald coming at you full speed. And like, for him to have the football IQ, the decision making, the escape, the elusiveness about him, he's going to be a great quarterback in the league, man. So I can't wait to see it for your Colts.
I hope so, man. I just don't want to see him get bit by the injury bug, man. We've had a couple of guys in a franchise. Bob Sanders is one, obviously, way back in the day. I mean, way back in the day, not so much for us, but back in the day, a little bit. Bob Sanders, obviously Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning had the injury at the end of his career, but still, like, Luck and Bob Sanders were two guys that really got hit by the injury bug that really just cost their careers. Obviously, I mean, you can't question, obviously, cost, especially Luck retiring in his prime. But I mean, I don't know how old Bob Sanders was when he retired, but he definitely never reached, like, he would have played a couple more years and stuff. Yep,
most definitely.
All right, so it's getting to that point where it's like all green and purple out here. There's all quarterbacks.
You still got Burrow. You just got a Dak. Like, I would take Dak over Burrow just based on the injury history with Joe Burrow. I don't feel like getting burned again, so I would probably take Dak here. Like, looking at that, it's like Dak is going to be on a high volume passing offense, and I think that there's going to be a ton of yards and a ton of touchdowns coming from CeeDee Lamb this season. So you can't go wrong as your QB too.
So you think you want him over waiting on somebody else, though? Like, you don't want to – what do you feel like? Because this is where I would go. If this was me sitting here, I'd go Jonathan Brooks or Jaylen Warren if one of those guys are still available.
I would go Brooks over Warren. I would, but I think you would have to have your expectations ready for Brooks, who just went.
Of course he did. Of course.
So I think we're here with Jalen Wright or maybe Swift. I don't know. I feel weird about Swift. I just feel like my expectations are low on him.
And honestly, like, Zach Moss is a guy that coming from the Colts, like, I don't know how I feel about him, man. He was meh until last year, right?
Yeah, it's not a sexy pick, but I've been taking a few, exposure of him. It's not a high exposure. I just been taking, like, in some leagues just to get him, because he's so cheap, like, better than Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard's most likely losing his job. But
you think so?
Yes. Tajay Spears is the real deal, and I think fairly early, a lot of people will see that and identify that in that system that they're about to run.
Look at, even Dak went too. So even if we wanted to go that route, and this is like, Love. You want to get Jordan Love?
I said there's still Jordan Love if we wanted to. He was a top 7 quarterback last year as well in points per game. I mean, they have a young, explosive offense, and hopefully Christian Watson, can get gelled into this offense and contribute to as the highest fantasy potential that we will want to see out of him. But he just can't stay healthy.
I'm gonna put my stamp, since I have the mouse here. I went Jaylen Warren. I sat put. I was thinking about Love. So here's the thing: is that
you could probably wait.
Here's and like I said, my second, I don't think I ever got there. I went off on a tangent about the Colts. I apologize. You know how it is.
No, you're good.
I went off on a tangent, but I honestly, a guy I really would like to get, and I think it makes a lot of sense for our lineup. And I mentioned him, but is Geno. Now I'm a little concerned. I think they lost their OC, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. They got a good OCs coming from the Washington Huskies, and he was able to turn that program around his first year there 2 years ago. So I have high hopes for him.
I think Geno is a good late round pick with our lineup because we have the DK Metcalf staff and we even have Kenneth Walker. So you've got a whole Seattle thing going on here.
You do. By accident.
By accident, exactly. So, all right, if Samuel's available, do we just go Samuel because we need another wide receiver?
Scroll down. Who else is available? Because I think we're
Mike Williams, Dobbs.
Yeah, Shakir? Dobbs maybe. I think Curtis Samuel over Shakir.
Okay. That's a good, that's helpful for me because I've been kind of teetering on that.
Yeah. I think there would just be more opportunities for Curtis Samuel to create in a familiar system. He's the only one that has the familiarity with the system.
The only reason to go Dobbs here would be the Week 15 stack against Seattle. Do you feel like that trumps Samuel, or do we go Samuel here?
Week to
It's a
week
tough one.
upsides. That is kind of close to me, man. That's kind of close. That's like kind of a. I
All
don't
right, I'm gonna go
know.
Samuel only because I didn't want to accidentally draft Geno Smith here. I didn't
Yeah,
want to move. I was trying to move him down. I'm like, I gotta get
yeah.
him
He just
underneath
kept
him.
sweeping up.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here? I was like, this game's trying to get me to draft Geno at this
I
round.
honestly think Gino's going to be there for us, so I don't think we need to
Oh,
reach him.
so I put him on here so I don't forget, but he is,
Yeah.
he's gonna be here for a little while. I just don't want to accidentally draft him though. Um, yeah, that would have been catastrophic. I would have been like, oh no.
Oh
I just let us
God.
down here.
Can we pause?
Yeah,
Can
right.
we rewind?
Well, you've seen what people are doing, haven't you? That if people get mad about getting sniped or something, their thing that they do is they just start drafting players from the bottom of the ADP, and they're
Yeah.
hoping Underdog cancels the thing because they think there's like collusion or something like that. So
Oh
that's what
wow.
people have been
Never
doing.
knew
Yeah,
that.
it's real annoying. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been a gamer or something, but it's like people like when they like pull the
Rage
plug on
quit.
the system,
Yeah.
they rage quit and they just ruin it
And
for
they lag
everybody, or
out.
they like,
Yeah.
yep, or they say like, this person's cheating or whatever just because they
Yeah.
killed them. I don't know, stuff like that.
And then report their account after. I
Yep.
remember those days.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. So let's see. We got 12 more picks before we're up. We got 4 wide receivers here. We've got Trey McBride, so we're solid at tight end.
Yeah.
Let's see. What I do sometimes is honestly, and it's silly, but most people stay right on the top of ADP. Oh, actually, I was hoping to pick your brain on the Chargers backfield situation. So if
Oh,
you
yeah,
want to
that's
talk about
interesting.
that, I'm very curious to hear what you have, what you think happens there. Listen, I mean, I know I'm a Colts fan, but I would love Adonai Mitchell here because I think that he's a ceiling guy. I don't know if he's going to get, what you need maybe every single week, but if you want that big week where he catches like a 65-yard bomb and then, racks up 100 yards outside of that potentially, I think he's a guy that I like better than Josh Palmer, who I think we've seen enough of him to know that he's maybe
He
more
can't,
steady,
yeah. He
but
he
like
can't stay consistent.
he
So
doesn't
I'm
excite me, right?
AD has I'll tell you what, he'll be able to stretch the field a lot better than Alec Pierce. And I really feel as though that he becomes a huge red zone threat as well. So you have Anthony Richardson with the big arm. So like you said, that 65 bomb, that could be almost every other week if everything is going right with this offense. You have JT back and happy and healthy. So you have a 1-2 punch with him and Anthony Richardson. So this Colts offense is going to be super, super powerful and like fun to watch.
I hope so. I was kind of disappointed again as a fan. They only got one primetime game the whole year. I was like, that's kind of surprising because you think that they're at least going to be fun to watch. If Richardson stays healthy, I should put that with the caveat of everything we say about them. But if Richardson's healthy, this team's going to be real exciting. So I'm a little disappointed that the NFL only gave them one primetime game. How many primetime games your Rams have?
Oh God, I forgot the count, but I'm pretty sure
They got to have a couple at least, right?
Yeah, we got a couple.
All right. Talk to me. I think we're gonna end up. Let's see. Shakir's probably gonna be gone. We're gonna be right down in this area. These are a couple of guys I'm interested in. Tyjae Spears, the guy you've talked about, is here.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Palmer, not really having a lot of love for him. Mitchell just went, of course. What about do you think we need to grab another wide receiver here, or do you like to go running back?
I probably would like to go running back.
Okay.
It's a matter of who. Oh, I like Brian Robinson Jr. I like that Cliff Kingsbury's there. He's one of those guys that will be able to utilize Brian Robinson Jr. to his full potential because looking back at Kenyon Drake and like James Conner, their first years in Cliff Kingsbury's like system, they put up huge numbers, averaging over 14 to 15 fantasy points per game. So I think that would be a huge, like, great value here for a guy like Brian Robinson Jr. that showed his ability to work in the red zone, catch passes out of the backfield, run in between the tackles, a little bit at outside the tackles running. Like, he has some, like, juice to him. So I like this value on him down here.
Speaking of juice or lack thereof, you think Austin Eckler's cooked?
Unfortunately, yes. I think
Yeah.
he's cooked. I think he lost a step, and like last year was kind of like, damn, you hate to see it, like it was really fun, Eric Guitarn in the end zone and stuff. Like I think he kind of settled for this move with the Commanders, and it is what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like Brian Robinson's probably going to be available. If not, we can grab Tyjae Spears, another guy you've mentioned here. I don't really get excited about Singletary, so I think we're just going to go Robinson here. Tell me what your thoughts are, though. I'm very curious on the Chargers backfield. What do you think happens? Is it just a committee, and is that like a stay away for you, or do you try to pick the right one each week?
It's more so I just want a piece of it just based on I know that's their first thought. It's a run first offense. You still have Justin Herbert as your quarterback. So I still think there's going to be some type of scoring opportunities there. And we've seen, last season, Gus Edwards just going bonkers in the red zone, putting up a ton of touchdowns. So I think you still have that, on the table for when you get that. And J.K. Dobbins is a great running back. Like we know how talented he is, but his problem is his health. So you're always going to take a gamble there. Like I hate, playing the gambling game with guys that are coming back from similar injuries and catastrophic injuries. And like, I feel as though, no, I kind of stay away. So if my best bet would probably be Gus Edwards, I get a piece of, and Dynasty, I'm getting a lot of Kamani Vidal. So just remember that name, man. I'm definitely getting a lot of him in Dynasty. So I'm happy with the shares I got.
All right, good to know. I've been drafting him a lot in best ball. Obviously, probably a better player for Dynasty with his age and stuff, but I'm glad to hear that you like him too. Because yeah, he's a guy I've been targeting. Because if one of these guys, if they can't stay healthy and the other one's not producing, enter
Exactly.
Kamani Vidal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we looking at here? What do you think? You want Blake Corum for a running back, or what do you think? We got 4 running backs, 4 receivers, or do you go down with the fan favorite on Twitter is the Dontavian Wicks?
I like him over Mooney. I'll tell you that.
I know. Yeah. Mooney's more of a system play because we need it'd be nice if we could bring somebody back here. So Washington, we've found ourselves with a little bit of Washington here with Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson Jr. Week 17, they play against Atlanta. So I wouldn't hate a late round pick on Mooney just to have some exposure to that game. Again, for best ball purposes, he might not get you much the whole week, or the whole season, but if you can get there, yeah, exactly. And if that game pops off, probably should be a pretty low owned game. I mean, Washington and Atlanta is not going to be the highest game. I mean, Arizona, the Rams is a good week 17 matchup. I think Dallas and Philly, although we know, second games of division games, second time they meet in the season, sometimes often are lower scoring. Detroit and San Fran is going to be a game that I think everybody just tries to stack up. So if everybody's doing that, we can pivot. We stack Washington and Atlanta. All of a sudden, that game pops off and they go over 50 points collectively as a game, and we might be able to win the whole thing and sneak right in there with an uglier stack. But
yeah, I was about to say that's a pretty ugly stack, but it's affordable and it's going to work. So
exactly. Listen,
you convinced me.
Affordable is the name of the game sometimes. All right, so we're coming up. We got 11 more picks. We've got 4 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback. What do you like here? Are there any tight ends kind of in this range you would pick? Or do you just kind of you want to stay with the ADP and see what's available? I'm thinking we're going to be around here. Like Leggett might be available, Freiermuth, Dowdle, Miller.
What do you think? I like Pat Freiermuth with the upside. I feel as though Arthur Smith will be able to utilize him, and we're hearing great things, so far between him and Russell Wilson, which is rare. I think Russell Wilson and tight ends have been kind of like far apart in recent years, but I think now that, he's coming to a new situation, Arthur Smith likes to get his tight ends involved, even if it is, not the star tight end like how Kyle Pitts was in Atlanta, because you saw Jonnu Smith go crazy for no absolute reason, but I like Pat Freiermuth with the upside.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's a talented guy. I think he has a potential to be their second leading target receiver on the team. Honestly, like you've got Pickens and then, not a lot else potentially. You've got some young guys there and stuff.
Roman
but
Wilson,
I think that Freiermuth has a good chance to be second in targets on the team potentially. And I think they'll be, right. I think there'll be a run. There'll be a run heavy team with Najee and Jalen. But I really do think that Freiermuth could have a good tight end season, and getting him, as tight end 15 here or whatever, late in the rounds or late in the draft, you're not giving up a lot of draft capital for him either. So
absolutely.
However, I say that, but if some of these guys are available, I don't think Dotson will be there.
No,
right?
I think that's going to be gone. I think we end up where Leggett is.
That's what I'm thinking. Do you like Leggett at all or no? Oh, Freiermuth just went.
Nice.
Because of course he did.
He's not one of my favorite rookies. I actually came into the draft, the NFL draft, not really liking what I was seeing, but again, it's a whole different situation when we're going from college to NFL. So hopefully some of the things and my concerns he can clean up and just get coached up, and that's kind of what you need.
Sure. What about Jalen Polk? What do you think about him?
I like Jalen Polk
in this spot.
And that's why it's good, because I feel as though you're going to get somebody that possibly can lead this team in targets. I mean, Kendrick Bourne has yet to, show us that he can reach his full ceiling and stay healthy on top of that. And then you have a rookie quarterback that's somewhat leaning to be the starter. Somewhat, I feel as though, Brissett is there to kind of install. So I really feel as though you might get somebody like Polk that start making some noise, during the summertime.
All right. So looking at this, looking at what we have available here, you're comfortable going Polk? I mean, as comfortable as you
Over,
can be.
I'm about to say,
Dowdle,
yeah.
Dotson, Leggett, Cole Kmet, or Quentin Johnson?
Dotson's off the table, honestly.
Yeah.
He's such a huge question mark. I'll take Polk.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, listen, once you get to this part of the draft, like, they're not going to always be big, sexy picks. You know what I mean? Like,
who's going to
be clicking the
contribute
button.
at some point at a time in the season is where we're at.
Jermaine Burton's an interesting scenario, because if by some chance, and I don't know how you feel about it, but if by some chance T. Higgins gets traded, I mean, then Jermaine Burton moves right up there into heavy volume, but that's a big if.
He's going to fly up the board. And like, now that the time that we're drafting, it could be a good pick, you know what I mean, to get ahead of it, but it's just a gamble at this point.
I know, because if he stays locked into that third spot, then it's going to be tough for him to find his targets. Because, I mean, you're talking 280 targets potentially or something like that going to the first two guys. So it's like, that's a lot. Roman Wilson was the other guy I was thinking of for Pitt, but I don't really, I'll be honest and say I don't know a ton about Roman Wilson. I've heard some good things about him, but I don't know. Something about the continuity with Freiermuth being in there already and in that system and stuff just makes me lean him a little bit, but
yeah.
All right. So
I just feel as though it's an Arthur Smith system at the end of the day. We rarely see a second wide receiver exist there to be any type of fantasy relevance, to have any highs. I think this is really just going to be a run first offense with a tight end sprinkled in with, George Pickens kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense too.
We still got Gino.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gino. This is what I'm saying. Gino's sitting way out there. You can get him late. You can stack your team up. That's the other thing. It's like, I'm not saying I love the Gino pick. I like it because he fits well with our team. He gives us a nice stacking piece. And then you can get him so late that you could just load up the rest of your team while everybody else is picking quarterback. So I think it's a good opportunity cost pick there. Do we go Mooney for, listen, I know how you might feel about it, but do we go Mooney here?
Yeah, I'll take Mooney over those two guys above him. I'll tell you that.
Okay. I think we go Mooney, especially for the piece that, listen, I got news for you, LaQuan. If all of a sudden it comes down to this week, that game, Atlanta and Washington, we're gonna have to go to the game. All right, that's it.
I'm down.
Or at the very least, we're gonna be FaceTiming or something, because that's gonna be wild.
That's gonna be insane that we had this conversation. That happens.
I know, right? And there's gonna be video to prove it too. I love it.
Yeah, that is.
we can dream, right? We can dream. We'll be looking back and we'll have to wear. Yeah, exactly. All right. So what are we looking at here? We have a 1-4-7-1 build. I don't know how much stock you put into different builds as far as like how many quarterbacks you like to get, how many running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. I'll just say this. I tend to be a little lighter on quarterback and tight end maybe than the field. I know a lot of people like to go three quarterbacks. I think if you grab somebody reliable and strong, like a strong pick that's not in that's not in jeopardy of losing their job, I think you can go 2 wide receiver. The only thing I'll say about this is Kyler Murray has, he's a running quarterback. He's not the biggest guy. He has a slight injury concern. If we grabbed him and Gino, do you think we need to find a third somewhere in there, or is it kind of draft dependent?
Draft dependent, because it all depends who's available there. Because like I said, you still got guys like Will Levis that you're hoping to take a step forward, or Bryce Young. Like, you could take those shots where I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot, where they're going to have to throw the ball a ton.
Yep. Yeah, I think I agree with you entirely on that. The only thing I will say is I have a hard time drafting quarterbacks, even if it's late, and maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is something I can improve my process in, but I have a hard time drafting quarterbacks late that can't run and that I don't have any of their stacking pieces. That's the only thing. Like, I want to have at least one of their weapons, but if we're talking about, we just need them to fill in here and there or something, it's probably a fine option late in the draft. I wouldn't recommend getting like a guy like, an Aaron Rodgers or even a You know, even a Justin Herbert. Yeah, or even Deshaun Watson, somebody like that you have to invest a little bit more draft capital in. You know, you're maybe not getting them in the top 7 rounds, but you're getting them in those middle rounds that could be important. And they can't run, and you have none of their pieces. I don't think that's a great idea. Personally, it just doesn't feel great to me.
Yeah.
But let's see. All right, so we have 8 more picks. We're probably talk about ugly receivers we're looking at here.
What did old man Thielen do?
I mean, it's just, you know, he's just old man. You said it already. You said
old
it. I didn't even
Thielen.
say it. Old man Thielen. I mean, for
best
best
so natural sometimes because I say it on the pod all the time. I don't mean to sometimes, really. Like it just comes out.
It's ingrained in
we're
your brain,
like
even when he scores touchdowns.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but we're not playing in the NFL, right? We're young for life age. NFL, we'd be old. I'd be very old. That'd be it. You'd be taping my Achilles up on the sidelines like Aaron Rodgers.
Man, you got Rodgers out there, 40, man. He's still chugging.
He's hanging. I feel like he's hanging on by a thread. All right. Well, all the running backs that I was interested in slightly, Davis, Vidal, who we've talked about. Yep, both gone quickly.
Wow.
We could grab a second tight end. What do you think about Ben Sinnott? He's been a guy that's been moving up the boards, and I don't know if it's warranted or not. I don't know if it's just a lack of competition or if it's a skill or both. Or
I think it's skill, and the competition, all it is Zach Ertz, which, you know, we've been seeing him decline since, you know, Dallas Goedert was born, you know, yards per route, which is basically showing productivity. Like he's not able to separate as much as he could. I mean, he's passing the torch to these guys. I think he's there just to install and fast track somebody like a Ben Sinnott, where he has qualities of a running back because he was a former fullback. So he's able to break tackles. He's able to show up in the run game and pass block and stuff like that. So it's like he is a tight end that I can just see ultimately on the field like for a long time.
Okay. I have a bad feeling he's going to get sniped right before us. We got 2 picks in front of us.
Come on, man. Don't put that energy out.
I'm telling you, look at this guy. He has 1 tight end. I'm just saying.
He's probably looking for,
Okay, we made it. Woo-hoo.
Made it. I was about to.
Sometimes I think we got to go Sinnott here. I've called it a couple of times and been like dead on, and then other times like I've skated by on the thinnest of ice and like risked a guy coming back around to me, and I've snagged him on stream too. So it kind of goes both ways, you know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think we got to grab Geno the next time around. Gibson will be gone, and then this is our stack we want, and there's only like 2 quarterbacks ahead of him. Deshaun Watson and Baker, and I would hate to have somebody snag him in front of us and ruin everything we've built here.
Exactly, the beautiful roster that we worked hard on, and we definitely don't want to get sniped on Geno. Geno's been in the queue for about 6 rounds now.
Just don't tempt me to pull the trigger early. No, I think this is the time. He's going to move in. He's going to fit nicely into our lineup. He's going to be right there ADP wise. This is how we do it. All right. This is exactly, we're not just fancy shirts here, guys. All right. We knew what we were doing. We had a plan, and it's moving right around. But I do think, okay, so talking about plans, I'm big on like letting the draft come to you kind of thing. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about that too? Do you go in and say like, I want to try to put this together after like the first round, or do you just kind of feel it out and adapt as it goes?
I'm more of a fill it out after like the 3 rounds. Like, cause I'm not going to say I go in with a plan, but I have 2 or 3 different builds that I want to do. So say we don't get Breece Hall or the big 3 that I talked about, then I'm just going to go heavy wide receiver for a while. And then I'll probably get like a Derrick Henry, a Joe Mixon in those mid rounds to just kind of secure a running back where I feel as though the volume is there. And then the rest of the draft, I'm kind of feeling and like trying to fill it out there.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I feel like if I go in with a plan, I get too rigid. And if one thing throws that off, like now I'm all like off kilter and you got to adjust. So you just have to, like, I'm big on, I think that guys that are drafting so many, like max entering every single league, have to monitor their exposures, maybe even more than maybe myself or you do. Whereas like, I'm just trying to draft the best set of teams with like a core group of guys that I really like. And then I'll, sprinkle in all these other guys and stuff too. Because if I was them, I guess I would understand why, you go in with a plan, because you're like, I need more exposure to player X. But like for me, I just like feeling out the draft and trying to put together a team that makes sense.
Absolutely. Sorry, my cat is in heat right now.
Oh, no. You're fine. You're totally fine. I think I heard something in the background, but I assumed it was maybe your kids or something. So you're fine. No problem. Listen, this is a family and pet friendly show. We're good here, honestly. So we
meowing out of nowhere.
All right. So we got a 2-4-7-2 build. I'd like to pick up a running back here. I'm thinking we got to get a running back here. Now we're going to have 11 more picks. So we're going to be like down here. So, man, the only
Jeez, I was about to say. What are we
Damian
looking
Pierce
at?
burned me in my dynasty league. We
He
could
made
go a
me
little
look
further
at
down. Deontay Foreman? I don't know. I don't think these guys will be available. I don't think Dobbins will be available. I don't think Herbert would be available. But, I mean, obviously, they'd be the first picks. But we might have to do
gone.
We might have to do what we talked about and adapt. And I don't know what that looks like at this point. What about Braylon Allen? Not a fan. I mean, he's our fourth running back or fifth running back, if that makes you feel any better.
It does a little bit.
All right, a little bit. He's our fifth running back.
I didn't really like him either coming into the draft.
No,
but he landed in a good spot. He
did. I mean, and I hate to say it because you never want to see a guy go down, but Breece Hall, he's shown that could get injured. And, if that happens, he's going to be a workhorse. I mean, he's the only guy that I don't know
about Tyrone Tracy coming out of camp. I mean, that's one of those ones that he'll be our fifth running back, so don't really stress him out.
Yeah, you don't have to feel great about it. You just have to tell me to pull the trigger. Essentially, that's it. You're not going to feel great. My friend's a Giants fan. He thought that he looked pretty good. He was happy about him, but I don't know if that's just his inner fan talking, or if he would, if he would actually invest anything into him. So I won't take that for too much. But he likes him. I think he's kind of realistic. So we'll see. I think we have 7 wide receivers. I'm pretty set at wide receiver for us. Honestly.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
We're definitely good with the talent we got. Yeah.
Yep. I think we're all right there. I think we'll be fine with wide receiver. I like our tight ends because we're not really relying on Ben Sinnott a lot. Obviously, like that's my thing. If you're going to take a guy like McBride, which I think it made a lot of sense where we took him because it was a wide receiver desert out there. Yeah. You drafted him for him to be in your starting lineup, 13 out of the 17 weeks of the season or something at least, I think, right? Like,
yeah.
So I don't, if Ben Sinnott can have a couple of hero games for us. Look at Dobbins going 2 before us. Oof,
that's disgusting. We only got.
What about Rojo?
Oh, yeah. What about him?
All right. Listen, we said it was going to happen. I don't think I could take Pierce.
I can't.
So what are we?
We could take Braylon Allen.
I think we got it right.
Yeah, there's no other option there.
Unless you go. What about Jonnu Smith? You like a third tight end there or Okonkwo?
I like Jonnu over our Chigs.
Do you like him over Braylon Allen?
Yeah, I mean, because he's the starter there, and you have Mike McDaniel's excitement of getting like a athletic speed tight end. So there could be some really good, weeks with him.
All right, I like that. I think that it was probably not a bad idea to get a third tight end there, especially if we think we're probably set at quarterback where we're not going to go a third guy. The one thing I almost botched for us is the bye weeks. Like for our 2 quarterbacks, that is a pro tip. If you're going to run out 2 quarterbacks, you better make sure they don't have the same bye week. So
I've done that a couple times. There. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. I think
that's happened a lot.
LAQUAN, I think I did it one time on stream, and I was just like, I hope nobody notices that.
It's like,
oh no. Well, listen, you're looking at so many things. You're talking, you're interacting and stuff. It's like that slipped through the cracks. I was like, oh man. I was like,
yeah.
I think what happened is it was like around like 14 or 15, and I realized I think it was actually with tight ends potentially, and both my tight ends were on the same bye week or something. I'm like, oh man, now I got to get a third tight end when I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I drafted some bum in the 17th round or something. I think I drafted Lonnie Woods. He's been my late round tight end, and I'm like, meh, I could feel okay about it. Yeah. Drafting him for the athletic upside. Meh.
There you go. I love it.
All right, so we got to get a running back, and Damian Pierce is still sitting there, but so is Braylon Allen. I think we go Braylon Allen, right?
Yeah, we got to, because nobody wants him.
Nobody wants him. He's destined for our team.
I think he'll find good use on special teams, and I'm not being like trolling saying that. Like I really think he'll have some type of role as with this new hybrid kickoff rule. I think he looked good last year. He ran back a 98-yard touchdown on kick return, and I feel as though all right, well they probably found something for him.
Perfect. Get us some free points here. All right. So that's good. That worked out okay, actually, because he made it all the way back around to us. So we're fine with getting that. So I think the decision was fine either way, no matter what we did there. The new kickoff rule is going to be interesting. I read an article the other day that said that they think it's only a couple of weeks into the season before like the team's best players are asking to be back there returning kicks. So
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens, that's good for the fans. That could be good for everybody. So
because I can see Tyreek Hill or even a channel on kick return, and that will be huge beneficial to why would you leave points on the table? Because Tyreek Hill has been, taking kick return, when he was with Kansas City. So why wouldn't he do it with Mike McDaniel? I think he's trying to
yep.
score in every single way that he can.
Yeah, and a more favorable setting for him in theory, I would think less risk of injury. That's why they say they went to it. I actually don't hate the new formation. I think the kickoffs have been dead for a couple of years, especially when
Oh
they put
God,
in that you can fair catch. Come on, like
yeah,
it's dead. It was
that's
dead. So like this is a way to spruce it up a little bit.
exactly. It's coming back from the grave. We're going to be very entertained. I wouldn't be surprised we have at least like 8 to 10 touchdowns week 1. Seriously.
That's wild.
No,
Well, because
seriously.
you think because it's so new still too?
So many teams right now are trying to strategize and do things. Like if you watch the XFL, when they executed it, there's a
Yep.
lot of trick plays that can get done. And I think, with these headed coaches with the NFL talent that they have, they're going to be very, very creative.
Backs on the board here. Curious to see if you like any of those guys. If I miss somebody you think we should like, we're
Mm,
talking late round here. We're talking
yeah.
late round, but we need a fifth guy or a sixth guy here, I think, to fill out our roster. What do you think? Did I miss somebody?
Man, if Derrick Henry wasn't in Baltimore, man, I would have told you to just smash Keaton Mitchell rounds earlier. But
Yeah.
man, I
Listen,
think
Derrick Henry
Henry,
had the foot injury last year, right? Like he had
yeah.
the foot injury. He hasn't been the beacon of
Well,
health
he's
lately.
also returning back from an ACL tear, I believe.
Oh, that's
So
true. But he's
that's
younger. He's younger though, right? Keaton Mitchell, young blood.
Audrey Estime just had I think he had a minor surgery recently too, but I don't think that's anything crazy. But it's all competition out of that backfield, apparent to Sean Payne. So we could be getting a gem there, not really knowing it.
Sure. I mean, do you like any of the other? I've drafted Dylan Lobb a couple of times just for like, at this point, and I hate to say it again, your draft. Look at Jelani Woods. See, he's not a sleeper anymore. He's not a sleeper cell anymore. People
People
are actually.
listening, they're on the
Oh,
stream, bro.
listen. I moved him up. I've single-handedly bumped Jelani Woods up in ADP over the last month or so. I think that Dylan Lobb is a guy that could get some opportunity potentially if Zamir
Yeah,
White goes down. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what you're drafting right now. You're drafting for these guys to come in and maybe make a big run or something. And you're drafting for somebody that gets hurt. And we know the running back position is the most, injured position pretty much on average. And if you get a guy like Lobb, who is the backup there because the number one guy got hurt, and assuming he earns the backup role, then you could find a gem in the last round. So,
yeah.
all right, if you look at this list, because the other options out there are pretty ugly, unless I miss somebody. Will Shipley, you want to see Isaac Garendo on there or no?
I think that's more dynasty we're looking at with Isaac or
All right.
but I feel as though, let me ask you this. Do you think, Indy could research Trey Sermon? I mean, we've been hearing good reports somewhat. I mean, look what they did with Zach Moss. Everybody thought, writing him off. What do you think? If JT gets hurt, he's bum leg, bum knee or whatever,
Oh,
he could fall into that same situation.
hate to even think about it, but yeah, you're right. I think that what I like about Trey Sermon is not so much his skill level, it's that offensive line that he would be able to run behind. And that's what concerns me about Zach Moss, too, is like everybody saw Zach Moss last year. And don't get me wrong, he looked good. He made guys miss, but was he just a product more so of a really good line? I think we'll know this year.
Well, I think
I
we'll
think we'll
find
find out.
out, but I would
Yep.
lean to say yes because I don't know if he's ready for a bad Cincinnati's O line that Joe Mixon managed to show, productivity behind. I mean, Mixon never really had a solid line, not riddled with injuries or just poor play, but he still was able to go out there, grab 1,000 yards, and be fantasy relevant. I don't know if Zach Moss has that in his body. I don't think he's ready for that Bengals football.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see. I'm pretty low on Zach Moss, comparatively speaking. I'm actually been drafting more Chase Brown than I probably should.
Oh,
But I'm very curious to see what happens there. And I think I'm going to be behind the 8 ball on Zach Moss. So if he does really, really well, kudos to him. And I'll be wrong on that one. But as of right now, I don't know. I just don't feel great about him. I think he is more of a product of that line. So while you were talking, I did go with Trey Sermon to round out our team
ooh,
there.
you
Yeah,
thought
I
about
went
it.
with Trey
You
Sermon. I
thought
did,
about it.
yeah. Well, listen, if I don't even want to think about it, but if Jonathan Taylor goes down, or he's injured, or they're resting him because they've gone 17-0
Yeah.
and they got to rest him or whatever, or 16-0 and they got to rest him in week 17 and Trey Sermon gets all the carries, then we win all the money again there too. So
love it.
All right, as soon as this last pick is up, we've got the board here. I mean, pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much what you normally see, pretty wide receiver heavy the first 2 rounds. Then we get a couple more running backs in round 3. We get the tight ends start to go. Once one tight end goes, they all start to go a little bit, and we were part of that run too. And then you kind of just get this mix all the way down. Nothing's really standing out or anything.
In the mid rounds, it gets really mixed up, man. It's like you can't really go in there with a plan. You got to feel it out, like how we were talking about.
Absolutely. If you look like this stretch right here from like Aaron Jones, you get Jamison Williams and Cortland Sutton in there, but look at all the running backs and even quarterbacks. Like you getting around 7 and 8 and an underdog, especially, like it's a wide receiver graveyard out there and everybody knows it. So basically you want to stay ahead of it, or the more risky thing is you still stay ahead of it. You should still draft receivers early, but if you fall behind a little bit, then you got to kind of wait it out. And then you're picking guys late like Dontavian Wicks and Josh Downs and Xavier Legette and stuff, and you're hoping they pop off. But statistically speaking, everything screams to get those wide receivers as early as possible and then punt on the running backs, because as we said many times, hopefully it doesn't happen, but these running backs go down and all of a sudden the next man up comes in and he's automatically a 20-touch guy and he's a stud and he wins the whole thing. So That was Kyron Williams last year, really, right? Your boy.
Yeah, it really was, man. Look at that, how that turned out. Shout out to him.
Absolutely. LAQUAN, dude, this was awesome, man.
No, this was great, man. We put together a nice squad, man, and week 17, we flying out.
Week 17, that's Commanders. Listen, we might have the ugliest stack out there, but uglier stacks have won this thing before. All right. And I feel good about it. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I know we're joking about the game stack and stuff too, but Scary Terry, we know, can put up a lot of points. We know that, we got Darnell Mooney and he's a big play guy. He might not put up a lot of points consistently, but he could definitely catch a couple of bombs, and stranger things have happened in the NFL. Absolutely. So
what? I mean, there's some players that had no business, blowing up. I mean, we all know about, oh wait, we should have got Greg Dortch. That's what I forgot. Yes, that's what I wanted to bring up.
We got to redo it on the next one then. That's it. Oh, write them down.
Beautiful.
That would have been our Cardinals run back there.
It would have been. And did he even get drafted? I don't see him.
Probably didn't. He would have been late, you know what I mean? So
that lets me know everything I need to know. We're getting a sleeper gem on there, man.
There you go. Listen, you're on him. You're on him before everybody else is. I love that. Dude, this was awesome, LAQUAN. Honestly, this was great, man. If you want to do this again, I am always down. I love drafting best ball. It's much more fun drafting it with you than it is by myself. So anytime you want, man, you're always welcome here. Or, we can head over to wherever you are. Listen, LAQUAN, before we go, tell us where we can find you. Tell us what you're doing now, what your schedule's like, whatever you want to tell us. Let us know.
Yeah, so I'm doing the pod for NFL Fantasy twice a week. So you can catch us on Wednesday when we put the pod out. And then Thursday morning, 10 a.m. on Pacific, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. You guys can catch us during the lunch hour where we're doing a live stream. We're interacting, talking fantasy, goofing off a little bit, talking about a little bit of everything in the culture, pop culture, movies. It's really a good time. You guys catch me over there at NFL Fantasy. And then I got stuff going on with Rotoballer. I got a couple videos coming out once or twice a week, rotoballer.com. Check it out, man, and definitely sign up. You guys use my promo code FIRE. I mean, you see the mic, I'm not a pyro, I swear. It's my thing, man.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'll feel free to leave the link to your Thursday show if you want down in the comments or whatever. Yeah, leave it down there. I definitely check it out. I love mixing fantasy sports with family and life and pop culture and movies and music and all that stuff too. So I love that. I'll have to check it out for sure.
Absolutely. It's a fun time, man. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Thanks, guys. I will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. I will do better on the chat next time. I was just hanging out with LAQUAN. Next time, we'll get better at throwing the stuff up on screen. All right.